On that.
Well, yes, 180 days.
It's 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. If we could get Robert Hissall and Zeke Cox up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance from the local Boy Scout troop. Y'all would stand with us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank y'all very much. Y'all want our city to build in? Thank you very much for doing that for us. Alderman Miller, would you like to lead us in the invocation?
Thank you, Mayor. Heavenly Father, we come, Lord, we thank you first of all for this day. Even with the weather, we still thank you. We ask, Heavenly Father, we go forward with the business of this city, that, Lord, you will give us discernment that we make the right decision for this community. Lord, we just thank you, Lord, for the opportunity you're giving us to serve. Continue, Lord, to bless our soldiers wherever they might be. We thank you, Lord, for this great nation, country, and county, and this city that we live in. Amen.
Amen. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The agenda is approved. Item 5 is to approve the docket of claim numbers listed on your agenda. Can I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And the claims docket is approved. Item 6 is to approve the minutes from the regular Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting of January 6th. Is there a motion on that?
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Wait, I'm sorry, the January 6th or the 20th?
January 6th. Oh, yeah, that would have been January 20th. That's right.
The 20th.
We're approving the minutes from the regular Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting of January 20th. I just made that correction on the agenda.
Good catch.
So there's a motion and a second to that. All in favor say aye.
Do we need a roll call, because had to step out halfway through? Or?
We can. Let's do a roll call vote on that. I forgot you had to leave during that one.
Yep.
Alderman Kitchens?
Aye.
Alderman Piper? Oh,
Abstain?
Abstain. Yep.
Alderman McClendon? Aye. Alderwoman Lynch?
Aye.
Alderman Miller?
Aye.
Alderman Robinson?
Aye.
Alderman Wicker?
And item 7 is to approve the minutes from the special meeting on January 23rd of 2026. If y'all remember, that's the one where we declared an emergency and preemptively. Is there a motion on that?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Wicker?
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens?
Aye.
Alderman Piper?
Aye.
Alderman McClendon? Aye. Alderwoman Lynch?
Aye.
Alderman Miller?
Aye.
Alderman Robinson?
Aye.
And that motion passes. Item 8 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the consent agenda passes. Item 9 is the personnel docket. Is there a motion on the personnel docket?
Motion. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And
No.
that motion, was there a no?
Yeah.
There's one nay vote. That motion passes. Okay, we're down to grants. Item 10 is the approval to apply for a firehouse grant, which is 100% funded with no match for a new tornado siren program. Is there a motion on that one?
Motion. Second.
We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderwoman Lynch?
Aye.
Alderman Miller?
Aye.
Alderman Robinson?
Aye.
Alderman Wicker? Alderman Kitchens?
Aye.
Alderman Piper? Alderman McClendon?
Aye.
And that motion passes. Item 11 is the approval for the Motorola contract extension for the police department body cameras. Chief, did you want to speak on that one briefly?
We
gave it to the city attorney to look over. Basically, what it is we are on a program where every 5 years we get new body cameras. And in order for us to lock in the price that we have now, we go ahead and commit to the next 5 years. So it won't be a major increase in the prices. We'll just add more body cameras to the existing contract. And city attorney looked over it and said it looked fine and with him, so.
So these are the same current
It's the same
manufacturer
as
and
we
everything that,
currently are doing, but we'll get newer and better body cameras with the next batch.
Any other questions?
This is not any additional funds, this is already in your budget this year.
Well, this contract,
Yeah.
it won't take effect until
next year.
two more years. But it just locks in our prices now.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion and a second, roll call vote.
Alderman McClendon,
aye.
Alderwoman Lynch,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Robinson,
Aye.
Alderman Wicker,
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens,
Aye.
Alderman Piper.
That motion passes. Item 12 is the approval of the contract to assign an officer to the U.S. Marshals Gulf Coast Fugitive Task Force. Are there any questions or concerns on that one before a motion?
I think we already have somebody in that task force, don't we?
Chief, would you like to come up and speak to that? I started to answer it, but I didn't want to step on your toes.
Currently, no, we do not have, we have officers on other task force, but not with that particular organization.
Any other questions for the chief? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, we'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Piper,
Aye.
Alderman McClendon,
No.
Alderwoman Lynch,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Robinson,
Aye.
Alderman Wicker, Alderman Kitchens.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Item 13 is the approval for the Leo Grant Program. Deborah, did you want to come up and speak on that briefly?
So I got an email last week saying that we had been awarded the Leo grant for our dispatch consoles. It was a 50% match. The cost for the city would be $58,378.68. This would give us 4 brand-new consoles. The equipment has a 15-year lifetime warranty. I can speak from experience that these consoles last 30-plus years. They're sit-stand desks. The motors on them rarely go out. It's quality furniture and something that is very much needed.
I know your people work some long hours, and anything we can do to make them more comfortable during those long hours, make them sharper on their job. So I'm glad you went after this grant.
Thank you.
Y'all have any questions for her?
When you applied, there was some conversation about where the money was gonna come from in your budget. Have y'all settled where you're gonna get the $58,000 from?
I don't have it in my budget. I do not have $58,000 in my budget. I would probably be able to come up with some additional monies for any labor that might be incurred for setting up like a temporary dispatch. But no, it was not planned out at all.
How are we gonna pay for it, I guess is my question.
That is possibly from the general fund or whatever y'all decide to do on that. In the past, the past 2 years when we've asked for the dispatch remodel, the cost has been anywhere between $130,000 and $300,000. Eventually we're gonna have to do it at some point.
And I think you need it. I just want to know where we're going to get, is it come out of the police budget? Is it going to come out of the court budget? Where are we going to pay for that?
It's not, no.
Well, this is why we discussed this in this previous board meeting about applying for this grant, is we was asking y'all for help on it. And I believe I explained it pretty well that if we apply for this and we get it, then we're gonna have to have somewhere to come up with the money because it was not budgeted, because we didn't know they was gonna offer the grant. And y'all agreed to approve and apply for the grant. And if, so I'm not, we got it, and it's something that's needed at a very minimal cost to the city at this moment, and it's something that we need to go ahead and do.
We also said at that time that if we didn't have the money to do it, we weren't sure we had the money to do it, and if we didn't have the money to do it, that we reserve the right not to approve it. And so
You're absolutely right, but once we accept a grant and then we turn it down, the odds of us getting this grant in the future, if they offer it, is gonna be.
Well, I specifically remember someone asking, I can't remember who, does this hurt us if we turn this down in the future? And y'all said that this isn't something that's really offered very often anyway.
It's not, but if it is offered next year and we apply for it, and they look at us and say, well, they got it last year and didn't accept it, let's go to somebody else.
I will also add that grants for dispatch consoles and furniture are very rare. I did not think we were going to get this grant, but we did.
When's our deadline to accept?
I don't know, to be
Everything's got to
honest.
be turned in to the state by June 30th.
Got breathing room.
But not
Or
a
no?
lot, because it's gonna take some time to get everything organized. We're gonna have to move our dispatchers from where they're at
The
now.
whole thing has to be completed, receipts
It's
turned
gotta be,
in.
it's gotta be
Okay,
invoiced
sorry,
by
misunderstood.
the end of their fiscal year.
There's not an acceptance date on the email that they
Gotcha,
sent
okay.
for the award. But the deadline to have everything completed is June 30th.
Y'all think that if we tabled it till the next meeting and had a meeting of the finance committee to try to determine where the funding could come from, with that next meeting, which is, I think, February 20th, February 17th, think that would be soon enough?
There's some things that we can do in between then and now to facilitate where we're gonna send our dispatchers, how we're gonna do that. But at the latest, the next board meeting, we need to make a move on it.
I have been working on getting quotes to see what it would cost to move us temporarily from dispatch to the PD conference room, or going to the county and using 2 of their consoles temporarily, which would be more cost effective, but would also have implications on our records. Because it wouldn't be our CAD, we would be using their CAD server. So it would
That could
affect
cost
our reports and our calls.
Any other ideas?
How long do you think you'll be down while they build the new room? Is it weeks or months or?
I would say maybe a few weeks. When we did the remodel up in South Haven, it was bigger. They installed a floor and everything, so it was months for that. But all we would have to do is, there's a lot of logistics with AT&T, Motorola coming in for the radios, our IT department coming in and moving wires and stuff like that. I would think that would take a couple of days, and then demolition for the current furniture, and then installing, which I wouldn't think would take more than a week, but that's a guesstimate.
We did have a contingency fund there. I don't have the budget with me. Wasn't the contingency fund somewhere over close to 300,000?
But we spent some things out of that already this year. And it was close to 300,000, but we spent some things out of it already.
Hey, this is something we need, and if they're gonna give us 50% of the money, I mean, see why we wait, we vote on it. I mean, it's something we desperately need, and we vote on it and figure out if we can get it from the contingency or where.
Well, I can work with the department heads for sure and come up with some budget amendments to everybody give a little, and we can do some, bring some budget amendments back.
Worst case, a loan and put it in next year's budget and pay that loan off next year.
Well, the mayor said, I guess, say y'all, the budget committee be meeting in 2 weeks.
We can just meet sometime between now and then.
Yeah, and then come back and look at all the numbers, you know, and they'll still be in line, in the timeline that they are looking at. It wasn't thing that they could be doing in that time. And so, if anybody got any more questions, I'll make a motion.
Any other questions, concerns?
I move that we table this item to our next board meeting until after the budget committee have an opportunity to meet.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to table it until the next board meeting and to have the budget committee, finance committee meet in the interim and come back with recommendations.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank y'all. Item 14, the utility fund discussion and adoption of new rates for garbage. The committee, the finance committee, met two times on this, I think. And one of them was just this afternoon. And I think there's been a lot of discussion about our garbage contract that we did 2 years ago. And we raised the rates enough on the garbage 2 years ago to get us through 2 years. And now we're paying more for the garbage than we're charging the customers. So we're going backwards in the garbage rate system. So does anybody on the committee want to speak to that, or?
Well, I mean, we've been looking at the numbers pretty extensively. You know, as a reminder, garbage includes brush pickup and cleaning, street cleaning and that sort of thing.
So the current, like, the way things are currently, the cost for example, for an extra garbage can is we're charging $1 less than what Waste Connections is charging us. So that's, I mean, there's basically a running deficit on some of these items. So it's really just, in a way, a pass-through of what Waste Connections has charged us and what we're charging customers. I know that other governing bodies deal with it in a different way. The county, for example, like Waste Connections charges the customer directly on a quarterly basis, and our system's not set up that way. I think that's something that, you know, we could look at in the future potentially, because that would kind of, I think, unmuddy the waters a little bit with our garbage rates. But for us to be meeting what Waste Connections is charging us, what's budgeted in the sanitation department, there would have to be the $1 for the extra can that I mentioned, and then a rate of $28 a month for garbage collection, or garbage and sanitation collection. And it's currently at, is it 22 or 22.50?
It's at 22 right now.
22 currently. So that's a total, you know, everybody's going to be different because some people don't have extra cans, some people don't have recycling. But that would be what we're looking at, and that's what our recommendation is, to balance that part of the utility fund.
Any questions for the committee or for me on that item? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to that item?
Well, when you look at these individually, it don't appear to be much, but you got to look at it collectively. According to the information that was provided to me, we had in revenue for late fees $130,000. late fees, okay? That was the estimate revenue. Then also in estimated revenue for reconnect was 55,000. So if I look at those two numbers together, that's $285,000. That's at the rate that it is now. And if, I use my own bill, for instance, so I don't have to look at nobody else. But that's when I say you have to look at it total. As you look at it individual, it don't seem much. But when you look at it in totality, my bill gonna go up, estimate $16.32, because I just got my bill today. It's a little current numbers. And so if we already estimating that we're getting revenue $130,000 for late fees, we're not gonna be getting that because we're gonna get more cutoffs and more reconnect. Like I said, you know, you're saying $1 for a garbage can, it don't sound bad, do it? But when you're talking about going from 22 to 28, that's $6. That's without getting the extra garbage can. Extra garbage can, that'll be $7 extra a month on the bill. And so I would like to, me personally, I'd like to see more discussion on these instead of trying to prove something tonight. We're 4 months into the budget. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. And so we're not going to make up a deficit tonight of, with 8 months left to go in the budget. So I think any time that you're going to consider increasing rate, I think we need to do all our due diligence to go through and look at everything and really think about what we have proposed. And especially if we're looking at the recommendation from our Public Works Department, which was great, and nothing knocking with y'all with the regular, that if anybody that we should be going up on more than the city, it should be the one outside the city. Because those ones we're not obligated to serve, that's just a luxury for them to be getting those services. They outside the city, they could have county services. So I think if one proposal on them was going up like maybe $6, we could go on them $8, because they outside the city. I'm just throwing numbers out there. You know, I wasn't in the budget committee, but it just doesn't rush my thoughts. And let's go all the way down through these items, 14, 15, 16. 17 will be taking effect, you know, once, that's something different, but 14, 15, 16, I had the same argument for all of them.
Yeah.
And not saying that nobody not doing due diligence of what they're trying to do, the way we got into this situation, but to come tonight and that's a big impact when you look at everything total together. Measuring out don't seem like it that much. So some people, that's a Happy Meal. But some people don't have the luxury to even go buy a Happy Meal. That's just my opinion.
I was going to key in on one thing you said. You talked about charging the people outside the city more because, you know, and there's another argument in favor of that is we were awarded ARPA funds as city citizens, and we're spending about $6 million of those funds on water and sewer. And a lot of it, most of it is benefiting the people in the water systems outside the city limits. And we could have spent that money to build a new city hall, anything we wanted to, but we spent it on good stuff like sewer and water. And so that was the citizens' tax dollars that people outside the city are getting to take full advantage of. So that's another argument for that. However, only about 14, it's either 12 or 14% of our revenues come from outside the city. So while I agree that we need to raise the outside the city more to compensate for the city services they're getting, you can't raise it enough to make it all up because they're so small part of the.
Well, it's just like the chart that we're looking for. I didn't say that it would make it up, you know, that it would make up the difference, but it'll go a ways toward it.
That's right. I agree with that.
Are y'all just talking about water, not garbage, right?
We don't have any garbage outside the city.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the goal in dividing this up into 3 different items to discuss would be there's more than one issue going on, right? So to try to simplify things from a action standpoint, it's divided up. The discussion part of it, I think it makes it a little easier as well to say, this is what's going on with garbage and sanitation.
There's also a general budget issue that all these kind of feed into, which is kind of why, there's pros and cons of doing it one at a time versus individually, because there is kind of a general issue that was the budget wasn't, it appeared to be balanced, but it ended up not really being balanced because there were revenues that were counted twice and things like that. And so, the reason we are here right now and the reason we're having this conversation is because we had a budget that was approved 4 months ago, or not, that started 4 months ago, that seemed balanced and everyone thought was balanced. But in reality, we were told, 4 months later, there's a shortfall of $2.6 million. And so I think that's kind of the issue with doing it piece by piece, is because there is a general issue that really does need to be discussed in all this.
Well, I think the general issue you're talking about is blaming it on me, and I'm going to take the blame.
Well,
Let me tell you what happened. I messed up part of that budget. I had some inputs that weren't just right. So on the garbage, it was not brought to my attention that we had a recurring 16% increase in garbage each year.
Mm-hmm.
So we under budgeted garbage immensely because that wasn't taken into account. Also, we were behind on 2 months of accrual bills from various months through the year that I wasn't aware of until after the budget was passed. That was a big hit. So those were mistakes in the budget. And I made those mistakes along with my department head. And, they were mistakes. Nothing's been misappropriated. They were just mistakes in the budget.
Right, yeah, and I don't think
We
anyone
all
said
knew that we were going to have to raise utility rates. That's why on July 15th, this entire board voted unanimously to hire at no cost Mississippi State to look at our water and sewer rates.
Well, that wasn't necessarily an admission that we needed to raise rates. That was a vote to look into the rates and see what needed to be done.
But we voted to do that, and he came and looked at them and said, we need to raise the rates.
Yeah, well, and what I'm talking about is there's still a lot of unknowns, I feel like, with the budget and where we are with things. Like, how do we go from that to that? Because even the expenses that you mentioned in there, they don't really account for everything. So, like, for instance, did we lose money in 2024 in our public works department?
Yes.
How much?
It's in the spreadsheet that she built, and I don't have it in front of me.
Well, let's see. Losing money, revenue over expenditures, it was,
We've been eating up, we've gone 8 years of making sure the taxpayers didn't have rate increases while cost of living's gone up 30%, which means all the expenses have gone up 30% generally. The crew has gone up more than that, and we've basically been eating up all the reserves for the last 8 years. Here we are. But the citizens have enjoyed the same rates for the last 8 years because of that.
about 1.5 million,
In 2024?
2025.
Okay. I think in 2024 is about $1 million, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was around 900. I'd have to look on the computer, but.
So at this point, the board was behind we've lost $2.5 million in the last 2 years. At what point did you know that we were behind $2.5 million in the last 2 years?
I didn't know how far we were behind, but I knew we were eating up reserves. And I do look at the audit every year, and I knew we were losing it. I just didn't have those numbers memorized, but we all knew it. We all had the audit.
Yeah, well, we had, obviously, our audits were trickling in, but we saw the cash balance, you saw the cash balance deteriorating year over year. So what's the balance of our public works account now?
Bank account?
Yeah.
This moment, probably about $30,000.
And how long can we go before it's out of money?
Well, we have money trickling in every day. We get a huge amount on the 15th when everybody's ACH hits.
Right. But on the current trajectory?
Not very long.
Do you have a general time frame?
Ed, what are your thoughts on that as the CFO?
I guess we're expecting to have a lot of ad valorem and sales tax coming in, franchise tax coming in. It's a timing issue, basically. So right now, we could probably last with, as the mayor said, about 30,000, probably about 2 weeks. But we do anticipate quite a large amount of funds coming in, so.
Well, and specifically with the utility department, like, so you said ad valorem taxes?
Yes.
Okay. How much do we expect, okay, considering what our typical revenue would be in a month, our typical expenditures in the public works, if nothing else changed, everything went according to the budget, how much money, how quickly would we run out of money?
I would say, well, we do receive the BBI, the auto draft to our customers for their utilities. And that runs around 260,000, and that comes in the middle of the month.
Okay.
So I would say we're probably running short about 150 to 200,000 is what we're running, and that might last us. We can probably hang on for about another, I'd say 2 to 3 months, unless the board decides to look at the waste connections increase and also the DECRUA increase. We have to have something that has been overlooked since 2017 has to be implemented. It's up to the board, obviously, to decide the rate that it's going to be increased. So, I mean, right now, as conditions are now, we could probably last anywhere from about 2 months. But unless these things are implemented, it'll put a large detriment to our operation.
Okay.
So,
in 2017, I have some minutes from September. I guess they had a similar water expert come in. Bobby Burton was his name. I don't
Bobby
know.
was Public Works Director.
Oh, he was public works director. Okay. Well, they recommended a 3% increase, and in their discussion, apparently they were facing somewhat of a similar issue because they said, we can't forget about this or we'll end up in the same situation we're currently in. So it seems like this 3% increase was forgotten about, and here we are. So it's been a long time situation.
I think we've had 6 public works directors in the 9 years since.
Probably close to that.
Did we find out if they had raised the rates any of those years, or if they had a vote not to?
So we saw in the minutes from October that they set the rates at what they currently are now. I don't know if they voted. We know since 2021, those of us who have been here, we know we haven't voted to not. And maybe Andrew might know if in 18 and 19 and 20 they voted, but I don't think it's been found.
Yeah.
No, had no vote been taken on it, one way or the other.
Do you know, so the vote would only need to be taken if you're not going to raise them because of the way it's written. So do you know if Public Works adjusted those rates year over year?
No.
They've never been adjusted since the 2017.
Okay, so we did find out that they didn't adjust them.
No, they haven't
That's
been.
what I said in October.
Yeah.
The October
Okay.
2017 set the rates at what they are now.
Oh, okay, yes, okay, sorry about that. Okay.
Now, also in 21, the biggest year Pam gave us some data from 2017 to 2025. The biggest year was 1.9 million in 2021, and that was before most of us, well, that was the very first few months of most of us being on here.
So, I think another thing that was on there that wasn't, I can't remember if you mentioned it or not, Mayor. There's that $656,000 loan. Now, we've adjusted that down, right?
What do
The
you mean?
loan that was on there twice?
We haven't done anything to change the budget.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
so we're factoring that in with all this right now.
Yes, that is part of this, yeah, that's in the spreadsheet.
And so, At what point was that discovered that we've done that?
Probably about a month ago,
About 3 weeks
when we
ago.
first addressed it with the Finance Committee. That may have been 6 weeks ago, I'm not sure, whenever we had our Finance Committee meeting.
Okay. So, and I guess in that same meeting, that's kind of when everyone began to notice that we were losing money year over year? That's the point where we realized, or when
Well, no,
did we
we know
notice
we were eating up reserves year over year. We've just known that. Because
So,
we've had lower rainy day funds every year.
right, I don't think it
Yeah.
was as obvious though, I mean, especially this last year, because when I looked at the public works budget, the carryover from 2025 to 2026 was 200,000, but we had 400 and something thousand, so it would have been difficult to see. And actually, I'm still not clear on how we like our carryover difference from year up to year was only like $280,000 difference, but we were behind $1.5 million. So where did that extra money come from?
I'm not sure what your question is. I missed
So,
that.
when you look at the budget, in 2024 to 2024, you carry over, the amount that we carried over.
Yeah, the
from the previous-
amount that's in that line item is the actual amount we're estimating we'll have available on October 1.
Okay,
And so
right.
we put 200,000 this year's budget, and we missed that by 46,000. So I think it was 154,000 actually
Right.
was there on day one.
So what I'm saying is, the previous year before that, there was about 495. The previous year before that, it was like 1.7 million or something like that. So it's easy to see where the money went, like that we lost the money in 2024. It's harder to see where the money came from to make up that difference in 2025. Because that carryover only went down by like $280,000, but we still had, I guess 160,000 in there, and we're saying we lost $1.5 million. You know what I'm saying? So how's that difference made up?
Still not catching what you're saying.
So, okay,
Because we didn't,
did we have,
like 2 years ago, we started with like 130,000 cash brought forward was the actual. You had those in a chart. Did you remember what those were? I only had the last 2 years.
The transfer from surplus?
Transfer of surplus. It was like 154,000 this year. It was estimated to be 200, and it was actually 154. What was it the year before?
In '25, it was 480.
Okay, yeah.
In '24, it was 1.75.
right, so if it's 480, right? And we spent more than we got in revenue by 1.5 roughly. Then where did the rest come from?
Like, were there any grant funds, or there was anything like that would have been
There were.
one-time, that would have been
That was a
one-time?
really big
So-
EWP, and the cash went from one year to the next in that one, if I remember right.
Okay.
So like, it's probably, not to make everybody's eyes glaze over that's here, but
I think it's too late for that.
for,
That's
For
why
us
we do
to-
our best to try to finish out grants within a calendar year, because it's much cleaner when they go from one budget to the
or
next.
if there was there any new, debt that was realized?
I don't think we added debt in '24.
Okay. I'm just
We
trying to
we
think.
borrowed money for equipment in '21. Seems like we did a knuckle boom truck somewhere after that. And of course, we're still paying off a lot of debt. There was a building purchase that we have debt on from 19, I think. There's a lot of debt.
That's
There's a lot of
that's
debt.
just where some of those revenue and cash funds can get wonky year to year.
Yeah. Well,
Does that, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I get what you're saying. That's just one of the big questions I had looking at it is where, how do you square that circle, Mr. Esposito, while you're up here, what was your involvement in the 2025, 2026 budget?
I had very,
You're
very
still-
little.
You're still working on audits,
Yes, no.
right?
I was doing the audit, yes.
In our audits, is there anything in there that would lead you to believe that we're kind of on this trajectory?
when we received the audit, I think it was page 15, the auditors referred to the 1,232,000 increase under the CRUA, a rate increase. And that triggered me that something was not right.
Yes.
So I had not noticed that in the past until the auditors had seen that.
Right, and did you report that when you kind of felt that way about it?
Yes, when we saw that even the auditors, as they were reviewing the CRUA charges and comparing the rates and what utility charges,
Right.
that's when they noticed that there was a significant deficit there. So, and then compound that, the previous, the manager, there were 2 invoices that were not submitted. That was another $700,000.
And when was all this? When was all this happening?
Well, from what I understand, it was not submitted to accounting. It was, I'm assuming, left in his office after he left. And that's when we uncovered it. We were notified that these invoices had not been paid. So I think one was in '24. No, I think both of them were '24. There was a true-up, and there was also an unpaid invoice of, I want to say $308,000, and there was another invoice for about $280,000 that was not presented to the accounting for processing. So,
And did we pay those like right away?
Pretty quick, as quick as we could come up with the money, we did get those paid.
we did. We paid them.
Yeah, about that same time, we met with DeCrua, and we paid the true-up,
the
correct me if I'm wrong, and we asked DeCrua if they could roll those other 2 in with this year's payments to spread them out.
Yeah, when was that? When did y'all have that meeting?
Let's see, it was
We met with
before,
Wayne Spell, maybe,
early December?
it had been late November, but it was, I'm not sure. I don't know. I would be making it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think the board agreed to do that, to that agreement. I mean, it said, did they? Did we
No,
ever-
I didn't know. We were just negotiating terms of paying a bill.
Yeah.
But then we brought all this to the finance committee, once we figured out exactly where we were on stuff.
And I did have, sorry, I don't mean to monopolize all this, but I just had a lot of questions I was thinking over. I've thought about this all weekend, so I have a lot of questions I came up with. I do have a question for Joe Frank, because you're our DeCrua guy, right? How is DeCrua calculated? How are DeCrua monthly payments calculated?
Okay. Starting with the budget that we have each year? Okay. The budget usually, because we've had a budget for so many years, usually starts from last year's budget, figure out what we're spending. We've got probably 50 or 60 different categories that we spend money in. And we kind of look at last year's budget and find out how much we're going to spend this next year, and that's kind of how it gets started. And then that starts the flow readings based on the estimates for each city, based on last year. Most likely it's going to be an increase to the next year, so that's put into the formula. And so each month we have a reading on the flow. We get to see what everybody's flow is, plus or minus what the estimate is. And so the real, I guess, first glance at it is after 3 months. Usually that kind of tells you what you're going to do for the year, if you're over or under, at the beginning of the 3 months. So then after 1 year, your true-up part of it is based on what was estimated that your flow would be based on how much per 1,000 gallons that was budgeted for. Every year you usually have people a little bit over, people a little bit under. Sometimes one will be a little bit over. And so over about a 3-month period, they finally calculate, what everybody needs to true up as far as owing money or receiving money. So that's and that just continues on the next year.
Okay, gotcha. So, go
And
ahead.
those meters are, the metering stations are on Jaybird. That's the big one, right?
Okay?
In the East Hernando, and then there's one to the north where it's Hernando and South Haven.
Okay.
Or,
South Haven's flow that's coming toward Hernando is up on Pleasant Hill Road, right there, north of the school, kind of northeast of the school. That gets subtracted out because that actually comes through the Hernando meter too. The flow coming out of South Haven that has to go through Olive Branch is up on Malone Road in Goodman. There's a meter right there that catches that flow from South Haven that's on this side of the ridge. Most of South Haven and Horn Lake's flow obviously goes northwest. And so that's a two basic one. Wallace has their own meter. So, and the plants have a meter too. And they figure out how all this is going to balance out. Is the flow meters are calculating the right readings based on the differences in all the meters.
So the reason I was asking is there's something I couldn't figure out, and I've talked to the mayor about it. I've talked with Alderwoman Lynch about it, and Alderman Piper about it, and I think I couldn't really figure it out. So we had in 2025 the lowest water sales and the lowest sewer sales of any time since like 2021. So it was really low it trended is way lower than where it had been trending, right? But our DECRUA expenditures, so I would expect, because 2024 we had pretty high sales. So I would expect that our true-up would be that we'd get money back. But then we had so many charges, and I think their initial thought was, well, maybe it's I&I, but because it rained a lot in the spring. But you look at, I think Alderman Lynch, did you look at the rainfall?
Mm-hmm. Well, DECRUA puts out a form on their website, and it gives the average rainfall per month, so you can see the flow.
Yeah. And it was it just like abnormally high this year versus last year? From what I researched, the rainfall wasn't like just astronomically higher than most years. So I just don't get how we have a high year, which the estimates would be based primarily off that previous year, right? And then we have a low year in sales, which you would think would correlate, not directly, but like it would be somewhat correlated.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't get how our DECRUA was so expensive this year when our water sales were so low,
Okay. Well, it's the basic problem is the infiltration, but it's amazing how that rainfall is taken at the plant. It's amazing how that rainfall changes over the whole county. It varies a lot. So it's hard to just say that is the rainfall. We could have more or less.
Yeah.
But it's basically chasing down the infiltration, and we're finding a lot of it, finding some of it, but it doesn't take a whole lot to one or two manholes in the wrong position to have a top off or something to really increase the flow. So
Do you think it could increase, like, double the flow? The infiltration?
double the flow, yes. Yeah.
That seems unlikely.
Especially one of those big rains where you really have a.
Is there anything we can do to look into that more? Because it just doesn't, I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong or anything, but it just doesn't sit right. You know what I mean? Is there anything we can do to help, anything we can look into to help verify and see if maybe something is going wrong? Because it can't be water cells because we have, the meters and everything like that. So.
I know one thing that's been brought up I think in the past, is if there's a neighborhood being developed and they don't plug their lines while they're developing, that then the rainwater just completely collects into the sewer system.
Yep. We
we've
find
been
that
try-
all the time.
So we've been trying to be more vigilant in making sure they're plugged and that they don't just pull the plug and let the water through there. But it may be worth our time on another night to discuss, like, either drafting an ordinance to make sure that that happens, and that there's like either some clawbacks or something with,
Some sort of
just,
penalty.
just because there needs to be some level of, to make sure that that's followed through on, if it's really costing, because to bring to light the numbers, I guess, or whatever, when we looked at the flow from 2020 to, in 2021, it was around 592 million or something, million gallons. And then this past year, it was closing in on 900 million. So, you know, almost basically doubling over a 4-year period, and we don't have twice as many people living in Hernando in the last 4 years. So I think that's what's jumping out, you know, to us, but we're not, you know, we're certainly not the experts on how the sewer system works and how water's getting into it.
We've been finding things all the time and trying to get them fixed. And like you say, that's a big problem with development, that
Yeah.
they leave it,
And I guess
a tap open or a manhole open.
I guess the point that I think about with all of that is, I don't think like them doing that is a new occurrence. And yeah, we may have had higher rainfall last year, but we didn't have that much higher rainfall. Like, maybe we had higher rainfall, but we didn't have that much higher rainfall. It's just, I think there's worth something looking into. It's worth looking into something, because it's something just doesn't. It's if it was a little different and the gap between sales and our DeCrua charges were like, you know, narrowed a little bit, you know, if the margin was cut into a little bit, it makes sense. Yeah, it'd be one thing, but it's just such a huge spread that it just doesn't seem, something just seems off with it. Because previous years, DeCrua wasn't necessarily our public works problem as far as like running a deficit. 2024, I think we were close. And then previous years before that, we were, and that was because we had a big true up from the previous year. But years before that, we were running a pretty decent margin with DeCrua from what we were charging versus what we were having to pay. But it's just this last year was just insane in terms of how much we had to pay versus how much we actually collected. But our sales were like I said, lower than any time since 2021, and our costs were the highest they've ever been.
I think it was last March or April when we had all that rain. I think that was the largest flow we'd ever had. So it was attributed to something wrong in the system more than, you know, people actually using water.
Yeah.
Do
But
you know,
we're always looking for, okay.
because I know you're our engineer, but you're part of the DeCrua board. Do you know if other cities are having this as big? I mean, I feel like our infiltration problem, and just looking at 2025, is just extensive. And are other cities having the same issue to the level that we are?
Everybody's increasing some, but
But does DeCrua ever look at, like, do y'all ever look at what the city flow is versus the DeCrua flow and kind of just look at that, what the difference is for all the cities?
okay.
Or do you just look at just what the DeCrua flow is?
I guess in the last 3 years, we've probably had a problem as much as anybody. Walls has had some problems with their flows increasing above what they were estimated to have. Olive Branch and South Haven stay pretty even, okay, you know, every year. It increases, but not dramatically. It stays within their budget area.
Well, did they have like a crazy year this last year in 2025? Was it just outlandishly high like it was for us?
Well, it's higher every year for,
But
Almost
like,
everybody.
did their sales go down in there, or did it did their DeCrua charges increase that disproportionately? Because we charge way less than we usually do for DeCrua because we didn't sell a lot of water, right? So that's what's, one of the things that killed us this, like I said, that's one of the things that killed us this last year. So my question is there any, did they have anything outside of the normal? Because we had something outside of the normal.
Actually, if, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we had to pay our true up, Olive Branch was waiting on that check because they had an underusage.
That's right.
Yeah, so they did use less than they had on their level bill planning, so our true up paid them.
And yeah, granted, some of the, water flows are different in different parts of the county, or some of the rainfall is different in different parts of the county. But like, it's hard to believe that, if the same rate held true that what we had, the same gap, everyone should have had to have a upwards true up, I feel like. 'Cause it has rain. It was rainy everywhere in the county. Like, I don't think that the rainfall necessarily accounts for the difference, is what I'm saying. I don't think it can.
Well, but the true-up is not necessarily based on that. It's based on an estimate of past usage
Right.
and stuff. So it's not.
But the past usage was higher.
Well, you'd have to go back and look at the, different DeCrua monthly charges every month. But what I'm wondering is, to me, what's more important is the flow, the city flow that we have data on versus the DeCrua flow, like the city meters versus the DeCrua meters. And that's the big difference that I'm seeing that is my concern.
Okay.
Well, that's what I was speaking to that, too. It was just from a different angle.
They compare all these meters that we have out, based on the meters before you get to the plant and the meters at the plant. And try to make sure that everything's kind of come out kind of even on that. I know it won't come out exactly even, but over the years, we've had, we've questioned some of the meters, and they would go out and check the meters. So it's something we're constantly looking at, is trying to make sure the flow is registering like it's supposed to register.
How long have you been on the DeCrua board representing Hernando, since you've been here?
How long have I been on it? Since the beginning.
Have they raised the rate since the beginning that you know of? Is it still been $3.71 per 1,000 gallons?
Yes, it's 3% each year. That was decided on by the mayors, gosh, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 12 years ago.
I don't remember that.
Decided
But it automatically goes up 3% a year?
Mm-hmm. It debated on whether to raise a little bit each year or wait and have a large increase, because we knew it was going to increase because things wear out a lot faster dealing with wastewater. So that's kind of that's how.
What I'm getting is we're the same situation with our garbage. Every year, we're seeing an increase, and we're not passing that to the consumer.
So what's the
Agree with that.
current rate?
$3.71 right now.
What's the current rate?
$3.65 per thousand,
Okay.
is what it is. Either $3.65 or $3.75. I did mention to the mayor, we got the first 3 months of the year, October, November, and December. That's the first time in about 4 years we've been slightly under budget. So some things are changing in that respect, hopefully. And it amounts to just looking for problems in subdivision as the people ride through the subdivision and check it out after a big rain or something.
Yeah, to your point, the previous, I'm looking at it now, January 2025, in the first 4 months of that fiscal year, we were at we were projected at 49% of what our total flow was going to be for the year in the first 4 months.
So that year I mentioned about when we had the big rain.
Yes.
The rain, yes,
And then
yes.
so far for this, I don't have the December data, But in those first 2 months, we're sitting at, trying to think what that number is, 15% or so. So we're trending in a better direction from what you're saying and from what y'all's numbers are showing.
Our building inspector and our crew at Public Works are really staying on top of these new builds and the subdivisions. The building inspector's checking each pit that they're digging to put the pipes in at each home site and making sure they're not draining. And then, like, for instance, I think Courtney was part of the deal where we got an alarm on a lift station over at East Lake and went over there, and every bit of the water flowing across that whole neighborhood was flowing right into the lift station from groundwater.
As far as the I-9 and infiltration and everything like that, that clearly states when it goes down. Us going out, looking at different places, you'll be surprised what one normal clean out, if you leave it open, how much water, how much intake that actually will do to a system. So imagine a whole subdivision with green caps with nothing on it, just taking in that water. So to you, I know it seems like, well, it probably one clean out shouldn't do that, but when you think about the development of Hernando and what we're doing and all the subdivisions and everything like that, that really plays a big part in the infrastructure and everything like that. So want to make sure I throw that out there.
Well, that's well taken. I mean, I think
Thank you, Courtney.
what that does tell us is we've got to really crack down on that, because if it can have that big of a difference, I mean, that was the difference between this, if that is the difference, if that really was a contributing factor, that's the difference between this, our DeCrua revenue running in the red of the green by a huge margin. Because last year, like I said, like this is the first year with DeCrua that we've really taken a big hit as far as what we collected and what we paid out.
Like, for example, like, when you just look at if you look at the INI, or you look at what that flow amount is, obviously we're still being charged for it, and it was about 1.2, I think you say 1.2 million, Natalie? So if that amount had been applied to every homeowner's bill, right, to even it all out, it would have gone from $3.71 to $6.15 per 1,000 gallons. So that's the gap that we're really talking about when we talk about this difference of 500 million gallons to 800 million gallons. And it reminded me that I have a clean out that needs a plug on top of it, so thanks for I have one in my side yard, so I'm part of the problem.
Alderman Popper's the problem.
I'll get that fixed. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, because 2024, from what and other people have looked at this and they may have come up with something different, but this is just rough math. I mean, it looks like we were over by like $33,000 on what we collected versus what we spent for, our total sewer costs versus what we collect for DeCrua, or what we collect for sewer, period. But yeah, I mean, and before that was a really healthy margin. And then this year is like hundreds of thousands of dollars under. And so if that's the problem, then that's like, it's critical that we fix that. So.
It is. We're trying to find it. We're looking
We
for
gotta have
it
some sort
all the
of
time.
penalty or something for that, because it's.
We agree there needs to be a penalty on the developers that are
Yeah.
letting water go in there, just to make sure they understand it for real.
They can pay for it.
What other board members want to speak? We're on the item 14, which is the garbage rate discussion.
How often do we negotiate that contract?
This one was a 4-year contract.
We are in year.
It'll end in September of '27, I believe. Yes. So when we first ran out of our other contract, we called in an expert who we would have paid to help us negotiate the next contract. And he had been working with other places, and he basically told us that we probably should not go out to bids. We would be in trouble because the rates were coming in so high. So he stepped away from it and told us just to negotiate an amendment with our current provider. And since they already had the garbage cans in place, they were probably the best bet. And so we had a committee that negotiated that rate change with them. And we came out better, we think, than the other places did who were going out for bids. Now, some of them only got one bidder and we're stuck. So, and we're going to be going through this again in 27 as we start negotiating with others or deciding whether to put it out for bids. So that'll be a discussion for all of us to have then.
So if an agreement is signed by a previous board, is it binding on this board?
Well, apparently it wasn't binding on the last board because they passed it, but they didn't enforce it.
Oh, you're talking about the 3%?
Is that what you're asking about?
No, I'm talking about specifically with the garbage.
The garbage contract?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's binding.
Okay.
That's a contract. I actually helped negotiate that, and they were looking at going to like 26% increase. And
Yearly?
If I recall correctly, yes. And we ended up at 16, is that right?
16% a year, yeah.
And if you look around, everyone else's rates are higher than ours, if I'm not mistaken. So we negotiated that, and I think we came out really well. I mean, the cost of everything's just going up, that's a fact. So I think we did well on that negotiation. And we were kind of behind the 8 ball at the time because you're right. We probably would have done worse if we tried to jump to someone else, because of all, they were already set up here. And I think that negotiation went really well.
It's like $400,000 or $500,000 to replace all the garbage cans if you get a new provider.
But as far as the ordinance that was passed in 2017, which requires a 3%, just so everyone's on the same page, they mandated a 3% increase every year on water and sewer to keep up with the cost of those utilities. They talked about it in the minutes, as Alderperson Lynch talked about, how important it was to put that rate increase in effect, but then they didn't act on it. So that's kind of, if you're asking, this all just came up recently, obviously, and I've just had a chance to review.
I found out that ordinance existed probably in August.
So
we just didn't know it was in there.
The question, I thought you were asking that question on that, for that purpose, okay? So that board passed an ordinance to increase those, the water and sewer 3% every year to keep up with basically inflation, so to speak. They didn't, but they didn't act on it. They never have done, they didn't do it. They didn't collect it. They didn't raise it every year. And so I think as far as if you're going to ask any questions about that, I think this board, you try to follow your ordinances, even though the last board did not. So you certainly could do that. I mean, it states that it shall increase 3% unless the board votes to decrease it. The board apparently did not vote to decrease it. So technically, there should be is it 8 years times 3, 9? So 27%. That's a big jump. But I think because that board did not enact it, didn't act on it, I think you're going to use your discretion to what you think is best, the best way to handle this, if that helps.
Is there anybody here that wants to speak on the garbage rate item? Is there any other discussion from the board on that garbage rate item? Or a motion?
Per the Finance Committee's recommendation, a motion to increase the garbage rate based on the recommendation to $28 and the $1 increase for extra cans.
There's a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Wicker,
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens,
No.
Alderman Piper,
Aye.
Alderman McGlindan, Alderwoman Lynch,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Nay.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
That motion passes. Item 15 is the utility fund discussion for a water rate increase.
I know we've already discussed this a ton, but I do think that Alderman Miller's point of, if we do have that's not a long runway, but it's a 2-month runway, try to really dive into the numbers and see what we can, you and I talked about austerity measures, dive into that, see what we can cut, and before anyone makes a decision on a rate increase today. I think that would be premature, considering that we do have a little bit of time, and we really need to dive into the numbers and see what we can do.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, as we're looking at items 15 and 16, these just compound. So we've already approved the garbage increase. So that's hitting everyone every day going forward forever and ever until a different board changes their minds on it. Rates never go down, though. Citizens were already hit with, tax increase, even though we voted the millage rate to be lower, still got hit by that because of the assessor situation. So I know folks are dealing with that. Not everybody has that margin in their budget to keep accepting more and more. So, yeah, I would also encourage that we look at option possible on this and not just keep hammering folks.
What was the Finance Committee's recommendation on the water rate increase?
I don't think we really had one. I think the mayor was.
The main thing we wanted to hear was the city attorney's opinion on the ordinance of 2017, so that we would know kind of what latitude the mayor's office has to enforce that ordinance.
I think what we were basically saying after we talked to Stephen was that because that ordinance stated that it should go up 3% a year unless the board took a vote not to have it go up 3% a year.
Prior to October 1st, each budget year.
And so since those votes were never taken, those rates should have been rising every year, 3%.
Trying to retroactively go back and collect the 3% that was overlooked.
Not
I mean, there's-
retroactively go back.
Well,
no.
I mean, you get my point though on it. I mean, because this is the third administration then, since then, 2017.
True.
There's 4 years, then there's a whole nother 4 years, and now we're in this. So it was a lot of people that overlooked it. So I certainly don't think we should stack all those 3%, 3%, 3% and have it at that. So.
Well, I offer again my same comments from when the discussion began. $2 or $3 on each item might not seem much, but when you add it all together, it's a lot. Might not be for some people sitting on this board, but there's the citizen out there that got to pay the bill. And so, I mean, I think we should do due diligence and not to try to fast forward. We didn't get in this situation overnight, and I don't think we should try to get out in one night. If I heard it correctly, if I'm American, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you and the Budget Committee been meeting at least 2 or 3 times on these issues, and then you want us tonight, I didn't say you, but they want to move forward tonight the budget committee want to move forward tonight with approval, and y'all had 2 or 3 meetings to discuss and hammer this out. But you want the rest of us that wasn't privy to those meetings and information to raise rates. I just don't see it. I just don't, and I guess that's the downside too, when you have 3 members sitting on a committee, all you need is 1 more vote to get anything passed. So when the committee bring up a recommendation, it's almost pretty sure it's gonna pass, because you got 3 bringing it forward, and you just need 1 more vote. That's when I have a problem with, when you got 3 aldermen sitting on a committee. It don't take that much more to.
It's assuming everybody.
Let me, did I interrupt anybody?
Keep going, Andrew Miller.
No, I'm through now. Y'all have your way.
Well, okay, so
I'm through.
I've been playing with these numbers a lot. I've got a ton of spreadsheets going on. And I have looked at lots of different scenarios of if we raise, rates, it just seems inevitable. We've gone so many years without raising them. We all know that inflation has increased significantly since 2020. But I also want to pass on the smallest amount of increase that we can to our citizens. So it's hard to kind of try to figure out what the best rate is for different things when there's so many different rates that we're dealing with. We're essentially dealing with 4 different rates: garbage, water, sewer, and DeCrua. And so, but now that we have a firm garbage rate, I think it would be fine to take a little time and play with the numbers again before we enact anything with the water.
And would you be willing to share the spreadsheet that you've created that, Pam and Nicole created some spreadsheets, and then you really tweaked them to show change. And they've got lots of tabs that are very informative, and
Maybe
you
more
have picked all of our
information than
brains. Well, it's a very good tool, but
Okay.
I think if we do that, we definitely need to share what you put together, because I think it is good and correct data. And
Sure. I'll update for the garbage rates, and then we can look. And then maybe we can bring back some rate scenarios to the group so that we can look at what if in this, if we did this, then this would happen. And if we raised it this much, then it would give us this and that sort of thing, instead of just kind of arbitrarily trying to figure something out.
How much more runway do you think that garbage rate increase gives us?
Estimated, I would say it could be another 2 to 3 more months, so it depends. It's an estimate, of course.
I'm not sure it'll give us that much, since it's just the garbage.
Well, obviously, we want to do everything we can in the benefit of the citizens and, of course, respect to the board. So we will work hard to make it happen, find other areas to cut costs, as the board has suggested. So we'll push in it. I'll get more involved with it. I'm preparing for the next audit, but they'll be here on April to do the next audit. But, we'll work closer together. So that's a commitment I can make, so.
Now, I'm thinking we've still got item 17, which will help us and make me not wake up at 3 o'clock every morning checking the bank balance maybe.
Yeah.
But if y'all are going to table it, I would like for us to bring it back at the next meeting, because it is very time critical. And we could get out the spreadsheets to y'all tomorrow. Clerks and Ed and I and Natalie and the committee could answer questions, and hopefully everybody will be up to speed for a good presentation at the next meeting.
Okay.
If that's the direction y'all are wanting to head.
There's no more questions. A motion to table the discussion for water rate increases
Until the next board meeting?
until the next board meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
Alderman Wicker.
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens.
Aye.
Alderman Piper.
Aye.
Alderman McClendon.
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
That motion passes. Item 16, the utility fund discussion for sewer rate increase. Is there a motion there?
Make a motion to table.
Same, yeah.
And I would also, just as part of that, I would like for us to extend the invitation to some DeCrua members to have some discussion. So, no slight to Jay Frank, he's the best. We love having him as our engineer and as our voice on that board, but just to have some
the
additional
director maybe
crew
come.
members here as we're continuing this discussion.
Okay, we'll invite them to come to the meeting. That's your
and a
motion?
Second. Oh, yeah, that, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
I
no.
guess my motion died then.
Oh, did you have
I'm
one
sorry.
I made the motion
I'm
to
yeah.
table.
Oh.
So I guess, I mean, is this, have Robert
I'm
Rules
sorry,
order changed?
I apologize for that.
And then Ben second it, and then I can entertain his
Yeah.
amendment to my,
Will you entertain
Motion.
his amendment to your motion?
I think that's correct, and I'm
That
right.
is
think
correct.
that's
That
right.
is
Yes,
correct.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
want to make sure, but anyway.
Will you?
Yes,
make that?
you know, since you got rid of my motion, I guess I say yes.
Alderman Miller has made the motion and accepted the amendment to it. And who was the second?
Ben?
I was.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it is tabled to the next meeting. Item 7 is the budget amendment for interest incurred from the Mississippi Modernization Act Fund to the Utility Fund. So I was asked by some members of the committee, Pam and Nicole and I were asked to look at the Mississippi Modernization Act money, which has a lot of rules around it, right? It can only be spent on certain things. But it has garnered a lot of interest in there. And we called Tom Chain and spoke with him, and he said that the interest in there is not fettered by any of those rules, and this board can spend it however they want to on legal items, but outside of the Modernization Act rules. That interest just belongs to the taxpayers to do what they will with. So this came out of our committee as well, is to take that interest that has been accrued since that fund was started and transfer it to the utility fund to help us keep things going and possibly help keep the rates down a little. And Ed, how much money did you say that was approximately?
270,000.
Okay.
Over the last 4 or 5 years.
Anybody on the committee want to speak to that besides me? I am on the committee.
I mean, this is basically just something to cash flow the utility fund as an item to give us a little more, runway, I think is the word that's been used, but that's what it is. I mean, the payroll out of the utility fund's approximately $75,000 every 2 weeks. So this amount of money is a considerable amount to, whether it's that or paying a crew charge or whatever it may be. It certainly buys us some time that I think we all desperately want right now. The reason we, looked at it was because we saw the fund balance in the Modernization Act, and we saw there was, interest piling up there, and that was kind of the thought was, well, can that be used on anything? Because that would be a huge help. So.
And since you mentioned the payroll, that $75,000 every 2 week payroll is with the department operating on the austerity budget and not having 5 whole positions filled right now. We're down 5 people. We're going to have to replace at least 2 of them because we've got to get some more people who can fix water and sewer leaks. But we are operating with a shoestring crew for sure.
I do want to say, I know that our public works crews have been out working unbelievable hours in the last 10 days since winter storm. Is it Fern? Fern. Terrible name for a winter storm. Fern, like it's a plant, but they have really been working hard out there, and I know that people have been frustrated, and I've been impatient myself, but they have worked extremely hard and definitely deserve our gratitude over the last 10 days for doing everything they could with what they had.
Absolutely.
But that's the idea here is to have some amount of cash flow put into the utility fund from the MMAF.
And we also sort of talked about just continuing to use this interest, possibly in the utility fund and other things. I think Alderman Piper, you're the one that thought about it, and I think it's been a great idea. I mean, that money's just been sitting there, and I mean, of course, it's compounding on interest, but, we need to use it, we need to use it.
Yeah, this one would just be this would just be a one-time budget amendment for this purpose, but that'd be something that we could look at in the future.
Question, and thank you for what y'all did. And Meredith, back to you,
Yes, sir.
making a statement about what this money could be used for. With the item that's going on in dispatch, could that money be used for a project like that?
It could be used for anything in citywide. Yes.
I'm just saying, you said, how much you said was in there, Ed, 270 something?
Just shy of that, yes, sir.
And, with there would be, instead of moving all that, could we look at 58,000 out of there to go over there and do that? Because you said that roughly,
certainly,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
We were trying to
Yes.
figure out, where the money coming from.
We're getting about $10,000 a month in interest. Now, that's gonna go down. We've got some big payments coming out soon, so obviously the interest rate, the amount will go down, but, probably in the next few months, we'll have another $30,000.
I'm saying, that would be,
We could use future interest funds to
Right.
help pay for the dispatch equipment.
just,
Yeah.
I know y'all gonna be looking at it anyway. I'm just saying that's an idea to shift, over there.
Do we need to set an amount tonight for what?
Maybe because we are gonna have future interest and we won't have to, when will we have to pay for that, Chief and Deborah? At the end?
Invoice by June 30th.
Okay, so that would give us another 4 or 5 months of
If
interest.
That'd be a good, good way to look at it, the
So
fund.
what if in this motion, and I'm just throwing this out there, we say 250 of it will go towards the utility fund?
Okay.
The balance, about 20, will go towards this 58,000 for dispatch, and then the next interest payments that come in will be going towards that as well, which will get us really close to it.
But I would just
Go ahead.
think, Jeff, what I was saying, I wasn't asking you to necessarily change that amount. Actually, we'll entertain the future interest.
Oh, the
Will
future,
go, towards that. It's just something to think about. We ain't gotta make, it's not no form of motion tonight, just something to be considering, thinking about, that's all.
Alderman Wicker.
Last three items we just went through. Basically told if we don't do something, we can't make our payroll in a month and a half. Now we're talking about, let's buy some dispatch equipment. Am I missing something or
Fair
is that
point.
completely off? That don't make any sense to me.
Well, there again, I'm just
Are we in a dire situation that we need to do something? We just voted a rate increase to our citizens because we're not gonna be able to make the payroll in a month. And now we're talking about buying dispatch equipment. Is this Mr. Ed, is this a serious situation or is it not?
No, you are correct. We have to watch that. I have to look at the entire cast and make it work, I guess, is the bottom line. That I'll divert funds where I need it, as Mr. Miller said. Yeah, we'll have that money building. So, as I said earlier, alluded to the fact that I'm estimating about 2 months that we can hang on. And if we don't have to make a payment till the 30th of June, I'm pretty sure we could make this work. We can't stop our operations, of course, as you know, and we've taken a lot of action to try to minimize and improve the situation. Now that we're aware of the problems and all the things we have to, the mayor, Pam and I, and the finance committee, we get together, as you know, and we try to find solutions on how we can make this happen. Knocking on some doors, trying to push some taxes payments earlier. It doesn't increase any rates whatsoever. We just get our money, hopefully, expedite the money, the squeaky wheel type of thing. So we can make it work. So as the finance guy, I'll find a way to get this money for the grant. And I do have some time, so I'm pretty confident it'll happen. But yes, we are in dire straits with a 2-month leeway. So, in the utility fund, yes.
I'm not happy how we got here. I don't know, the mayor, however we got, invoices were found on somebody's desk or whatever the situation is. But I just want to make sure this is a serious situation and we need to address it. That's why we just increased our garbage rate, correct?
That's correct.
And if we
yes.
don't do something with the water rates and do something with the crew, that fund's gonna be insolvent in 2 months. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. We'll have more issues, but yes, but there are things, of course, the board has to consider. So increasing the waste connections, as reluctant as ever, and I agree, because I'm a citizen as well, that, it puts a hurt. But yes, we have to be extremely careful on what and how we divert our funds and what was covered. And of course, the necessity of the departments. I mean, I commend all the department managers. They've all been tightening their belts, and all of them have. And it's amazing to see the cooperation we've been getting from everybody. And yes, if we don't do other things coming up, as hard as it is, yes, it'll continue to be difficult. So it's been difficult the last 6-8 weeks. So, but
We got ourselves here, and now we gotta try to fix it. And that's what, hopefully all work together to do that.
that's the approach that I've always taken in my 40-plus years of accounting, is just we got to work together, make it happen, find a way, and not hurt too many other departments. And we haven't had any issues. Our vendors even are cooperative, and they're all working. We're working as a group together. Now that we've assessed the situation, we're addressing the problems, trying to find solutions. And
Even once we get through this, it's gonna be a tight situation for a while.
it will be tight, yes. This is just going to get us through, and basically, and whatever the board decides, if they increase the DECRUA, again, whatever the board decides, I have to work with that. I have to find the way to make we're still going to have the DECRUA billing. And the Finance Committee, as you know, we talked about having the DECRUA people come out, and maybe meet with them when you all visit in Jackson. So, again, everybody's getting proactive on this and addressing it, and not just walking away from it and going crazy raising rates. So I appreciate the attention and the effort being put in. So,
Thank you.
yep.
To your point there, I was saying after this, to look at that, not to change what was in item 17. Just another avenue to look at.
Is there a motion on that item?
Motion for the budget amendment.
Of 250?
No.
The
The
full
whole
amount.
thing?
Yeah.
So what's that number?
70 and, or
It's approximately 270,000, right, Dave?
70.
Yeah, just shy of 270.
By roll call vote.
Alderwoman Lynch,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
Alderman Wicker,
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens.
Aye.
Alderman Piper,
Aye.
Alderman McClendon.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Thank y'all. And now we will move on to a public hearing, item 18. This is a public hearing. I want to make sure I announce that. To consider adoption of the 2024 International Building Code Cycle and the 2023 National Electric Code with amendments. Austin, if you would come.
Can I ask one question about when will the new garbage rates go into effect? When will they see that change?
I think it'll show up on the next bill, not the ones that just went out. But I will check with Pam and Nicole to make sure we follow state law on that.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Good
Yes,
clarification.
ma'am. Yes, sir. So, as you may know, we're under the 2012 IBC code cycle and the 2011 National Electric Code. And we're soon to have a visit from the Ratings Bureau to establish our new fire rating for the next 5 years. And this sets a pretty substantial part of your insurance rate, commercial and residential properties. And so, based on our last code visit 5 years ago, that was something we were dinged with. And we've lagged. And so what we've done is we've presented a series of amendments for an adoption or a possible adoption to the 2024 IBC code cycle and the 2023 NEC, the electric code. Kind of how we got here tonight, What we did first was, through the Bouchon Institute, we called a meeting with the Home Builders Association and some of the larger contractors in the area to get their ideas of what they saw in this new code cycle that they liked or they didn't like, their amendments that they proposed. And a second part of that was we invited South Haven, Olive Branch, and Horn Lake to that meeting with the attempt to adopt a uniform code cycle. And so what we hear a lot of times from contractors is, I do have to do something in Hernando and not South Haven, or vice versa. And so what we're trying to do is align the codes and the amendments to the code to be the same. So contractors are operating under the same set of rules for every jurisdiction. Out of that meeting with the Bouchon Institute and the Home Builders Association, Paul Whitfield and Brandon Gustafson, the McBride family, Chris Massey, they gave us some feedback of what they saw as helpful things, primarily concerned with the electric code, and we took that under consideration with some amendments we've presented. And then also what seems to be a hot topic a lot of times are sprinkler systems in commercial buildings. And so our proposal is just to keep the thresholds for sprinkler systems, so the size of the building's not changing from our old code to the new code. So that seems to be a hot topic that we hear a lot of. And then to be a bit more uniform with the code cycle, the new building codes do require every single family home to have a sprinkler system. So in past practice, we've written that out. And so it used to be 5,000 square feet heated. And so to be uniform with the cities, we propose that to be 6,500 under roof to give a little bit more leeway for garages and for a larger home. There were things in the new code like external disconnects on a home, some GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupters for kitchen island, things that didn't really work in the field that we heard from the Whitfields. And so we've written those things out. We've had conversations with GCs on site of just things that we see in the field to get ready for. And the implementation of this code is planned to be phased. And so if you have a project underway or already approved, obviously we're not going to go back and make you retrofit things in the middle of a job that you've already bid. So this would be for new projects started 30 days out from now, so we could publish and do all the legal criteria for getting it adopted. One of the things that I do want to bring to your attention that is a pretty major change is for hotels. And so South Haven already requires this, and if it's an over 4-story hotel, 4 stories or above, they're required to be non-combustible material. So right now, the code allows for you to do wood stick framing for a tall hotel. This new code cycle will no longer allow that, and that's to be uniform with South Haven and to make a better, final, safer product for our residents. Our building inspector, Tony Ezel, Matt Massey's here tonight, have done a tremendous job of getting these amendments and codifying them into the document you have in front of you. Obviously, this is not the whole building code, but these are the amendments to the building code. And so we've amended out a lot of things that hopefully make this code manageable and common sense, but also keeping our folks safe and satisfying the requirements of the fire rating. I do also want to say that there are things that are going to pop up that we've seen in the past 4 years about, water fountains in restaurants and occupant loads and little tweaks we're going to be able to make, and we're amenable to that. If there are things that pop up, we're going to listen and change and tweak as we see fit. But the idea was to get this in front of y'all tonight and to gather any public feedback if there are any, just to move forward with an adoption for our fire code rating.
And also, adopting this new code is going to be critical to our fire rating visit. The insurance commissioner is going to send a fire rating inspector down here for us in the next month or so, and having updated codes is a huge piece of us keeping or improving our fire rating. So we need to keep that in mind as we do this. And I appreciate you bringing in the other cities and taking the lead on that and bringing in the developers and the builders, because the builders are the ones who are going to complain about it. Mm-hmm. And having their input is critical to this.
Yes, sir.
Board have any questions? There were just a couple of silly things in there that they got rid of that we will think are silly. They were requiring you to put, if you had an island in your kitchen, you had to put a flush-mounted outlet on that island, which I'm picturing people spilling their wine and water in it. You know, it just doesn't make sense. And then they wanted a disconnect on the outside of a house that a robber could come up and pull that disconnect and turn off your power. So, you know, those are some common sense things that they brought to our attention that we wouldn't have known that they're going to be taken out. Is there anyone here that wanted to speak on this item or offer any more input? I see an architect sitting there. Are you good with this?
I'm good. Is there a copy somewhere that we can see?
Yeah, absolutely.
Never mind.
You posted it to me. Are there any, since there's no comments from the public, are there any other comments from the board or questions?
I just want to thank Austin and his staff for putting this together. This is, I know it's been a long one coming.
Yeah.
It's going to be good for us.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second. I yield to Mr. Kitchens.
A motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
Alderman Wicker.
Aye.
Alderman Kitchens.
Aye.
Alderman Piper.
Aye.
Alderman McClendon.
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch. Aye. Alderman Miller.
That motion passes unanimously. I have a motion on the utility adjustments.
Motion. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion passes. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor say aye. We now stand adjourned.